We are born with the innate ability to receive and reach out and communicate with the spiritual realm, which exists on the other side of this physical plane. And we are separated by a veil, a frequency, a vibration. We don't really know what the medium is that separates us from this spiritual realm. And when she was led to sit down and receive, I'm sure you probably know what channeling is.
Mm-hmm.
Channeling, where a psychic, a medium will do a reading and they will tune into your spirit teacher and they will drop down in level. Sometimes their voice will change, their expression might change, and they will speak as your spirit teacher giving you information.
Hi, Michael. Welcome to the Awaken Heart podcast.
Well, hi, Nancy. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being on, and I'm glad we have finally gotten to this conversation. I know that we were connected several months ago, and I just got a backlog of interviews that I needed to edit. So you're in my first round this year of interviews. So I'm very excited about having this conversation in this new year, 2026, as we're entering into the year of the horse. We're shedding the year of the snake energy. And I'm so excited to be moving into this new era. And it was really nice chatting with you before we hit live. I'm very excited about this conversation. And for those of people that aren't familiar with your work, you're the co-author of An Angel Told Me So, which documents more than 2 decades of messages your late mother received from what she described as spirit teachers. And what I appreciate is that this work sits at the crossroads of spirituality, discernment, and lived experience. It invites curiosity without asking people to abandon their grounding. So today I'd love to explore not just what these messages say, but how we listen and how we discern, and what this kind of communication can mean for people navigating their own spiritual questions. Before we talk about angels or spirit teachers, I'd love to ground this in real life. First of all, I would love to hear your background. I know that you've had this ability. Your mother did. She opened up to it. And you had just said your grandmother had it as well. And before I ask the first question, I'd love for you to go back into how your mother first started getting access to these spirit teachers and guides.
Well, I was brought up with a foundation of faith, church-based,
Mm-hmm.
Bible-based. My mother was extremely religious, daily reader of her Bible. My mother's mother, was pastored a small Pentecostal church just north of Cincinnati. My uncle was a fiery Pentecostal preacher. He founded churches in Florida, Kentucky, and Ohio. He could move a crowd. So that was my background. Even when I was young, I felt that I was spoken to. You know, we all receive information, guidance, direction. And I had gone to church, brought up in the church, but I just always felt there had to be more. There just had to be. Turns out there is. And I had gotten involved in spiritual material. And when I was in my early 20s, I had become involved with a psychic group in Cincinnati. And I had a table at their group. It was called Psychic World. And I did psychometry. That's the ability to hold rings, watches, keys, anything that carries a person's vibration. And I had a legal tablet. They would sit down at my table. I would just ask their first name, wouldn't engage in conversation, and they would give me something to hold. I would relax my mind and I would receive a message for them, sometimes page and a half. And when it got to the end, it would just stop. I would read that message to them. Sometimes they'd cry. And it was more confirmation as to what they were going through rather than actual prophecy. And that was my experience with this information. My mother, Wilma Jean, she had received and been spoken to pretty much all of her life, even when she was young. And on my website, spiritspeaks.com, there is a television interview that Wilma Jean gave in Cincinnati. And she talks about in that interview how when she was young and I was young as a child, she would be doing dishes in the kitchen and not really thinking about anything. And these messages, these teachings would be being made known to her mind. That was long before she started writing anything down. And when it ended, she would say out loud, she'd say, "Well, that was really good." And she always felt that she was being spoken to. And spirit guides, spirit teachers are angels, just viewed from a different perspective.
So, what was happening in your mother's life when these messages first began, and how did she finally interpret what was occurring?
Well, when she had been spoken to, like most all of us are. We all have our own spirit guides, spirit teachers. We are born with the innate ability to receive and reach out and communicate with the spiritual realm, which exists on the other side of this physical plane. And we're separated by a veil, a frequency, a vibration. We don't really know what the medium is that separates us from this spiritual realm. And when she was led to sit down and receive, I'm sure you probably know what channeling is.
Mm-hmm.
Channeling, where a psychic, a medium will do a reading and they will tune into your spirit teacher and they will drop down in level. Sometimes their voice will change, their expression might change, and they will speak as your spirit teacher giving you information. And then there's channeling, where an individual will have a tablet and a pen, automatic writing, where they will tune
Mm-hmm.
into your spirit teacher and they will start to write involuntarily and get a message for you. Well, Wilma Jean didn't do either one of those things. When she was led to sit down in a dedicated session, she had set up an electric typewriter at her kitchen. She would go in, sit down, light a candle, say a prayer, ask for protection, because you are opening your mind. And she would see 3 or 4 words just float into her mind and hang there. They would not go away until she typed them. Once she typed those 3 or 4 words, they would just fade away and 3 or 4 more would show up.
Hmm.
Well, that's how she received these messages. Full page, single space typed, many times with no paragraphs. And these spirit guides, spirit teachers in these messages repeatedly refer to themselves in first person. We feel, we believe, we advise. Our view encompasses more than your view can comprehend. One line in a message said, "We hear the spirit cries above the words you speak."
Hmm.
Who talks like that? I don't
Because,
talk like that.
hmm
And it's just so personal.
and it seems like they're always. It's not just a one. They're just a group of energies or entities or guides. Because I have heard of another one where they talk about he channels Basha. He channels a bunch of like an intelligent being, but it's a bunch of beings. Am I saying that correctly?
Right. What was amazing to me is not only do these spirit teachers speak about themselves in first person, but many of these messages and teachings that Wilma Jean received are signed, have been signed with the name of the spirit teacher presenting the message. Now, many of the messages are signed with a singular name, but throughout the message, these spirit teachers reference them themselves in plural: we, our, and us.
Hmm.
And so it's like there is a collaboration of a number of spirit teachers on the other side that are getting together to present this message, but yet the message itself is signed with a singular name.
Hmm.
She has again messages signed, your spirit guide, your loving spiritual teachers. Wilma Jean had a message to her that was signed, your spiritual counterpart. I have had messages to me that were signed, your spirit brothers, your spirit light. So there are a number of messages signed in volume 1 of An Angel Told Me So. There will be 2 more volumes following this. And it's like these spirit teachers, higher teachers, started moving in as the years went by, giving even deeper and more profound teachings.
Hmm. Because you were open to it more. So your mother, she typed on electric typewriter and she saw the words floating. She didn't judge them. She just wrote them down or typed them. So do you type or do you write? Do you do automatic writing?
I
How
do
does it
not.
come to you?
I am normally spoken to in thought, like most all of us are. And usually your mind is clear, quiet. You're not really thinking about anything, or you're in the car with the radio turned off. And a thought comes into your mind and it says, "I'd slow down up ahead if I were you."
Hmm.
Yep.
And you learn to
Glance in the
listen to it.
rearview mirror, you don't see anything,
Hmm.
but you're obedient. You lift off the accelerator and top a little rise on the freeway, and there sits a state highway patrol.
Hmm.
or you're approaching an intersection and you slowed down and you didn't get hit by that dump truck that ran the red light. They are always looking out for us, always.
Mm.
And some people might think that's their imagination, their conscience. They might just blow it off.
Or
Or you've got other
coincidence.
people, especially people with a foundation of faith, who are fearful. They're afraid to open their mind and allow this information to come in.
Hmm.
And I've had people ask, they say, well, what's the best way to protect yourself so that only this positive information from your own spirit teachers will be made known to your mind? And the best way that I have found is through affirmations. And an affirmation that was given to me years ago, so long ago that I don't remember when I didn't have it. It just came into my mind. And it said, let no thoughts, ideas, or information be made known to my mind that does not come from God or his direct representative.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell people, I say, let that be your filter. Let that be your aura of protection so that nothing that's not of a positive nature, not coming from your own spirit teachers, will be made known to your mind. And if anything negative does happen to slip through, and you know that was not a thought that you thought, that was in your mind, you simply encase it and send it down into the deepest part of the universe, because it has no place and no position in your thought system. And we all have our own personal thought system, like a little mini solar system flowing around in our mind.
So you say these words every time before you open up to receive. You say these affirmations to protect yourself every time you open up to receive messages? Or is it just something that you say once and you're always protected?
It's with you. If you feel the need to repeat it,
Hmm.
then that's fine. You know, some people need that reinforcement and that connection to make themselves, safe. But for me, it's just always there. It came to
Okay.
me, every now and then it will come through. But for me, it's not anything that I really need to say, because I feel that I have established that aura of protection that is
Hmm.
so strong that there is nothing that will come through or be made known to my mind that is not beneficial and I'm not meant to know.
Because sometimes when you have to keep saying it over and over, you're not believing that you have been protected or you're not embodying the protection if you have to keep it asking for it over and over again. And you have, through all your experience, have that good level of protection to keep the bad out and let what needs to come through for your highest good come through.
Right.
So
Some people need the reinforcement.
they do.
They need that. Excuse me. Now, Wilma Jean, she wasn't really sure that she wanted to put these messages and teachings in a book. So Wilma Jean was not really sure. A lot of these messages and teachings were personal for her and to me. And she had been praying about whether or not she should put these messages and teachings in a book. She was working around the kitchen one day, and these words started to come into her mind in thought. She knew it was incoming. She picked up pen and paper. She had beautiful handwriting, and she wrote this message out. And this was a message that she felt was confirmation she should put these messages and teachings in a book. May I share this message with you and your audience?
Hmm.
So, this
Yes,
is what
please.
Wilma Jean received. Emptiness is part of fulfillment. Let your resources fill the void left so that distinction of your purpose can be found. Expression is always self-explanatory. Therefore, look inside and anchor all your beliefs beside those still waters that will take away your troubled view and renew your strength to recapture that which was lost, but is now found to be adequate to pursue the course set before you. And as you reconcile your being to represent those qualities that have been left intact, God will see to it that although circumstances have been trying, to say the least, your weariness will disappear as clouds once removed allow the sun to shine to dispel the gloom and darkness that has pervaded your countenance. And as once described before, a token of this presence will be deposited to your account and books recorded in his name.
Wow, that's beautiful. Was that one of her first ones?
Actually, that message is on the back cover of the book. She
Mm.
had been receiving full messages for a number of years.
Mhm.
But again, she wasn't really sure that, to put these messages and teachings in a book. Now, these messages, when she was be led to sit down in a dedicated session, she would receive a message addressed to her by name from her spirit teachers. And then she would receive a message addressed to me by name from my spirit teachers. And each message had a different tone and a feel because it was coming from our own spirit teachers.
Mhm.
But it's like these messages and teachings are woven with a universal thread.
Mhm.
And everyone that has read these messages and teachings have said, well, this sounds like what I'm dealing with. This sounds like they're talking to me.
Mhm.
How do they know? And I tell people, I say, when you get the book, An Angel Told Me So, read each message once as it was given for Wilma Jean and given for me. Then read that same message again as if it's being presented for you and see what hits. It's amazing what hits.
It's got one universal theme. I've done some writing myself, automatic writing, and what comes through is just beautiful. It's beautiful. Like this isn't something that I would normally write. It's just, it feels like you're wrapped in an angel's wings. It's beautiful. And I know that you use the term spirit teachers rather than angels. How do you understand that difference and why does that distinction matter? Or does it?
Well, there really is no difference. For people
Hmm.
with the foundation of faith, they would consider spirit guides and spirit teachers angels. People have their own angels, guardian
Hmm.
angel. I'm amazed at how many people say they have a parking spot angel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Angels,
I
please
do.
clear me a parking spot. Angels, thank you for clearing me a parking spot. And there it is.
And they will ask ahead of time. And that really is your spirit teacher helping you, working with you. They don't mind what they're called. They will answer to any name that you care to give them. But these angels is which is the with the foundation of faith. Wilma Jean one time in a message said that she was prone to go with call them angels, but she was taking down the information and going with what was being given, and they were calling themselves spirit guides and spirit teachers.
Mm. Now, with that, like angels, please clear me a parking spot, or if they're hearing, like you were talking about the intuition about how you get this message to slow down, and then there's a police car on the other side of the hill. Now, I know one of the biggest questions people have is how do I know this is real and not just my mind talking?
Well, the Bible says test the spirit, and these spirit guides, spirit teachers, they don't mind taking a quiz. So if you're concerned or wanting to know how to verify that this information is really coming from a high source, a spiritual source, you have various things. We're all dealing with issues with family, with work, with our lives. And we have situations where we have choices and decisions that we make constantly. And that's we're a product of our choices and decisions. So when we come to a crossroads where we have to make a decision, we have two choices. We can decide on our own what we want to do, or we can ask for help or guidance and see what information is made known to our mind. And then we can try it one way or try it the other and see which way works out the best.
The
Usually
hard
their
option.
way works out the best.
Yeah.
But we have that pesky little gift called free will, and we can accept or reject any advice, guidance, direction that we're given. So it's up to us to allow them to prove themselves. And then that builds the confidence.
Hmm.
So, and then you'll do something or you'll make a decision and it doesn't turn out. And you'll say, well, I knew I shouldn't have done it that way. I knew I wasn't supposed to do that. I was told not to. And I did it anyway. And,
Hmm.
that's where ego or your own mind gets in the way. And it doesn't mean that you have to be obedient, can't make a choice or a decision on your own. We make, dozens of choices a day that may or may not affect our life. But it's nice to know that you're not alone and that you have that help when it's needed.
And going deeper into that, what did your mother and later you learn about discernment?
Well, being able discernment is just being able to tell the difference between the good information and
Hmm.
anything that would not be supportive or conducive to how we're living our lives. And again, people with a foundation of faith, they've been taught to fear spirits, beware of
Hmm.
soothsayers. And it's really just a matter of getting past that and allowing yourself to realize that these spirit teachers, it's just the way that they speak, the way they talk, the teachings that they give. On my website, spiritspeaks.com, on Wilma Jean's television interview, I posted a message from volume 2 of the book, which is not out yet. I'm looking for a new publisher. And this was the only time in a session where 2 different spirit teachers moved in the same session, gave 2 different messages, and signed 2 different names. And it was obvious that the second teacher was a different teacher than the first because the whole cadence and phrasing of the message is different. Now, this first teacher's message was really little more than a long paragraph, and it was signed with the name of the spirit teacher presenting the message. May I share this message with you and your audience?
Yes, please.
So this is what she received. There is a resurrection period through which man must travel in order to come into the realm of things godlike. You are to consume and digest all that is given here, as this comes from one highly qualified to meet the needs of this generation. You are not the sole property of yourselves. God still holds the everlasting command over your being, and in him must one take refuge. You are to be considered as one who has been stripped of all belongings and left to die by the wayside. In this manner, are you then open to any help that would be forthcoming? You are by your very nature ones who would depend on your own intellect to carry you through. However, by giving of your soul into the hands of God, do you prosper and develop more freely into that which denies the outcome of some situations, knowing full well that it is the hand of God leading and directing you so that you may arise victorious in the end. There is never a time when you will be without the Father nor his ever-loving approaches to see that you follow the path that directs you homeward. Take note that we say homeward, as your heavenly Father so resides in that vast insurmountable environment of time and space, so shall ye abide in joint communication with him by the grace with which he covers you and by your ability to accept this grace and use it for your own development. There are others here who wish to make themselves known to you, so I will step aside for this time. My love and devotion follows you as you trod onward but ever faithful to your goal. That message was signed, your loving guide. Now, that
That's
next to the
beautiful.
last line is the line that made me sit up and take notice. And he says, there are others here who wish to make themselves known to you. My question is, who are the others and where is here? What do you mean there are others here? Where are you in relation to us on this physical plane? The answer to that is they are in the spiritual realm, adjacent to this physical plane, in real time, with us all the way, all the time.
It's so fascinating. And I have heard, I mentioned Laura Lynn Jackson, but she said that if you hold up a piece of paper and you hold up a piece of paper and the other side, that's how close they are. Like, that's how close they are. They're here all the time. So, yep, they're around us. Daddy, my dad's
Well,
around us.
so many people, especially with the foundation of faith, they believe that heaven is up there somewhere, up above the clouds, in a place that we will go to for all eternity, not realizing that the spiritual realm is so close to us that it's adjacent, right next to us. And the vibration, the frequency that we're separated from, and when it's our time, when it's our end time, and we step out of this physical form, I tell people, well, there is no death. We never really die. It's just graduation. We ride around in these bodies the way we ride around in our cars. These bodies are just a vehicle to negotiate this physical plane. And when we step out of this body, we may glance back and say, thanks for the ride. You served me well. And they will one step into the spiritual realm. And then what? Do we go to an evaluation center? Do we get to look and see how we lived our life, how we handled our situations, what we did wrong, what we could have done better? We don't really know what awaits us on the other side. There's actually a movie that I recommend for people who are curious about what happens when you cross over. And it's an older movie. It's called Defending Your Life. Has Albert Brooks and Meryl Streep in it. It's really a good movie. Defending Your Life. And then there is one more called Always. and that has Richard Dreyfuss and Holly Hunter. There may be other movies with these same names, but those two are really interesting and will give people a perspective of what happens when you cross over.
I think I've seen Hunter or Always with Holly Hunter, right? You said Holly Hunter?
Right. And
Wow,
Richard Dreyfuss, John Goodman's
Richard
in
Dreyfuss.
that. They're pilots. They're pilots. They fly planes that put out forest fires.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah, I
if you've
think I've
seen
seen.
that, it's really well done. Really
Mm,
well done. Now, this first teacher said, there are others here who wish to make themselves known to you. And he stepped aside. Another spirit teacher moved in, gave a page and a half, single space typed, long message. I will not read the full message, but all of these messages end either with a really deep and profound last paragraph or a very deep, meaningful last sentence. And this second teacher's message, his last paragraph, it was deep and profound. May I share this last paragraph with you and
yes.
the audience?
Yes.
So this was the last paragraph of the second teacher's message. You are not as sheep, herded here and there, but you are likened unto the lamb that is cared for individually, nourished and loved until the full and total development allows it to be master of itself. So is man so kept, and denied only those things that would not in the long run nourish his spirit. God is all wise and loving in his dispensations. We are not to judge the workings of our Father, nor are we to judge each other. Work always to improve your own beings, for in the end time there lies your soul, with all the nourishment that you have given it, totally dependent upon the outcome of your intentions. And that message was signed, your loving spiritual teacher.
So that was one of the others that was waiting to talk to you, and that
There
came in
are
one
others
session.
here, and that was one of
Others
the
here.
others. He moved aside.
Beautiful.
And people say, are these really angels or are they spirit teachers? And
Same.
throughout all three volumes of this book, all of the messages that were signed, some were signed with a name, some were signed with initials, but none of the messages were signed your guardian angel, your loving angel, your high angel, guardian angel. None of the messages were signed with an angel name.
Mm-hmm.
They were all signed either with initials, a different name, or your spirit guide, your loving spiritual teacher, or teachers, depending on whether it was a singular or a plural signature. And I think that's interesting. It's telling because
Mm-hmm.
Wilma Jean, being brought up with a strong foundation of faith, she was prone to use the term angels. But she typed one time in a message that she would go with what was being given, not
Mm-hmm.
with what she was prone to use from her own point of view.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that upbringing, and I know you were raised, and she was as well, of in a very Pentecostal environment. And like you said, aren't they a little hell and brimstone? I can't remember, but yet you describe yourself as spiritual rather than religious. Did you wrestle and your mother wrestle with doubt or skepticism even while witnessing these messages unfold, especially with how judgmental a lot of these religions can be, and like, oh, you're talking to the devil, like, oh, that's blasphemy, and like you can't channel it, only like a priest, and it's only God and Jesus. And I hear even a lot of that even now from some of these episodes that I even put out, just about how you can only, it's the devil to do these things.
I did not have any doubts and I didn't wrestle with
Mm-hmm.
whether or not this information was really coming from a high source. And with the influence that I had with my mother and her faith that she was protected, she had no problems with it either. Now I know people who just desperately cling to the belief in heaven and hell that we will go to for all eternity. And I knew a lady one time that she had a son that was constantly getting into trouble, constantly. The money from the time he was 14 till he was 28 years old, the money they spent on bail and fines and attorneys to get him out of trouble, it was really just a nightmare for the family. She was brought up Baptist, extremely religious, daily reader of her Bible, went to church every Sunday and Wednesday evening. And she knew the material and the information that I was involved in. And I asked her one time, I said, is there anything that your son could do? Anything at all that would cause you to want to punish him forever and ever, for all eternity. And she just put her head down and said no. And I said, what makes you think God loves us any less? Do you really believe that based on this blink of an eye existence that we live, that we are going to be sentenced to eternal punishment and damnation forever with no chance for reprieve, no chance for a do-over because we had bad parents, chose bad friends, made bad decisions? We don't really know what exists on the other side. And this earth, these physical lives, this could be a punishment planet for all we know. I mean, look at the people living lives all around the globe that you and I, or most people, would consider to be hell, hell on earth. Drug addicts dying on the sidewalk in LA, people living in communist China, North Korea, Iran.
Yeah.
Why is it that we are born to a certain set of parents and a certain social
Earth
station
school.
for whatever it is we're supposed to learn in this life?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
then we graduate.
Yeah, but you you can keep coming back and coming back and coming back and graduating. I'd like to graduate and be a guide in the next
Well,
I think
you have to work up to it. You have to
yeah.
earn the right to where you don't have to come back anymore.
Yep,
Or
many lifetimes.
or you would be assigned to a lifetime on another planet, one higher in nature, more developed, more spiritual and love and light.
Mhm.
I
Mm.
mean, this I tell people, I said people don't really realize where the Earth is located. We're out here on the outer edge of the Milky Way galaxy. I say it's the low rent district of the Milky Way galaxy. Third rock from the sun.
Mm.
That was a good TV show. I don't
Yeah.
know if you remember that.
Yes, I do.
And the Milky Way galaxy is 2,000 light years across. That's 186,000 miles a second times 2,000 years. It's 1,000 light years deep. The next closest galaxy to the Milky Way galaxy is Andromeda, and that's 30 light years away. The James Webb Telescope has photographed galaxies 7,000 light years away.
That's crazy.
And between here and there are billions of galaxies with trillions of potential planets,
Mm.
civilizations, societies, individuals. We don't know what they look like, but there's intelligent life all across the universe. And this spiritual realm that exists adjacent to this physical plane here on the earth exists the full depth and breadth of the physical plane. And those civilizations, they have their teachers, they may have had sons of God who came to their planet to live a life and give them teachings when it was needed. We
Mhm.
don't really know what they're all dealing with, and we can end up anywhere once we cross over. But I don't believe it's going to be a place where you have eternal punishment and damnation forever.
No.
And if you're going to go to a place called heaven, we're all a product. We need, the physical beings, our soul needs choices and decisions. Well, if you go to a place where there's no choices and decisions to be made, what are you going to do? If everything is provided, everything is taken care of, and you never achieve or get any higher than you are at the moment that you enter into heaven, how can you continue to advance, in
Mhm.
my humble opinion?
Mhm. Yeah, that makes sense. That's why we're all here is to learn in this lifetime because if everything was all prim and perfect, what kind of life would that be? It sounds nice in theory, but like literally we wouldn't learn throughout our lifetimes.
Well, and look at the children born to Bill Gates and Steven Spielberg. They'll want for nothing.
Mhm.
Granted, they'll have their challenges, but that kind of wealth and connections makes all the difference in the world. And then you've got children born to alcoholic fathers, drug addicted mothers, abusive parents, or born into all walks of life, again, all over the globe in this physical existence. And we are assigned, I believe, to a certain set of parents in a certain social station for whatever it is we're supposed to learn in this lifetime. And if you're open to that, then you're open to reincarnation,
Mhm.
that there is
Mhm.
no end, there is no death, it's just graduation.
Mhm. Yeah, I absolutely believe that. And I know there's other cultures that celebrate when you pass over. Like, it's an exciting time because you're crossing over into the other side. Like you said, graduated from this lifetime, and they believe in the afterlife and, the spirit realm and all
And you're
that.
going on to your next adventure.
Yes. Yes, and I've also been told as well, I've been told that I've have an old soul, and, like, there's like, I might not necessarily have to experience famine in, Africa or something because I've already graduated from that, or I've graduated from some other things as well.
Or you've
Yeah.
risen above that. You
Mhm.
have learned, you've progressed, and you have
Mhm.
achieved a higher level where you are allowed, again, a different opportunity to experience and see how you'll handle that.
Mhm.
And it's always about moving up.
Yes, and it's like those movies, I've seen a bunch of them where they have to keep it's almost like Groundhog Day, they have to keep returning and making different choices, like, maybe they have to go 80s there was just something I saw on TV, I forgot the name of it, I think it was a Japanese, but they had to keep going back and redoing, and then they get killed again, and then they make another choice, and then, it takes them a long time before they're finally able to it's like getting in this horrible video game, and they're finally getting out of it. So
It's the
so
way it
interesting.
works.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to hear for people who are curious but cautious, what guidance do the teachings offer around grounding, protection, or emotional boundaries when exploring spiritual connection? I know you've already talked about having some kind of protection or an affirmation, but for someone that is completely new to this and wants to connect with their guides, what would you tell them?
Just allow yourself to be in a position from time to time. You don't have to be in this state of meditation, walking around talking to spirit teachers all day long, but allow yourself to be in a position to receive whenever it's necessary, when you have something that you need to know or you have a decision to make. And you don't need to sit down in deep meditation with your legs crossed and incense burning and the lights turned off. You can just be able to quiet your mind. And so many people, they can't shut their mind off. They can't quiet their mind. Or they get in the car and the first thing they do is turn the radio on. Or you come home, first thing you do is turn the TV on or jump on the computer. And just allow yourself to have a quiet mind, and incoming thoughts from our spirit guides and spirit teachers have a different feel in our mind than a thought that we think. It's a subtle difference, but you can look at it out the window or you can look at anything and think something in your own mind. But when your mind is quiet and a thought or a suggestion or a teaching or a message will come into your mind, it has a feel of an incoming thought. And if you can recognize that, differentiate between your thoughts and incoming thoughts, you are connected. And
Hmm.
then it's just a matter of establishing the filter, an aura of protection, so that only positive information that will benefit you or your situations will be allowed to enter into your thought system.
Mhm.
And it doesn't take a lot of work.
Mhm.
It takes a little discipline and recognition, but it's not hard to do.
Yeah, my friend had told me once that she's an intuitive therapist. I mean, she's very in tune. And I used to call in the angels and Angel, Archangel Michael and Metatron and like Buddha, Jesus. She's like, you don't need to do all that. All you have to do is go to the back of your mind and go up, like there's stairs in the back of your head. All you have to do is go up and they're there.
I like that.
Hmm.
I like that.
It's almost like a room, like you go up the stairs on the back of your head and you go up and there's this room and there's a couch and then there's a window or something. So she's like, you just have to go up. Yes.
When I have done a number of these interviews where the host will say, your mother received, your grandmother received, they said, do you receive? And I said, yes. I said, I'm spoken to. I receive pretty much on a regular basis. When I was first looking for a publisher, I was on a number of different publisher websites. One of the websites asked questions about your work. One of the questions was, what makes your material unique? Why would anyone want to read this? Great question. And I was sitting where I'm sitting right now at my computer. I didn't really even ask for an answer. I just relaxed my mind, and an answer started to be dictated to my mind. It was 12 lines long. And I just typed it down. When it got to the end, it stopped. And I have read this answer to a number of hosts on the air, and more than one has teared up.
Mm.
May I share this answer with you and your audience?
Yes, I would love you
So the
to.
question was, what makes your material unique? And this is the answer that I was given. The uniqueness of any material is in the manner in which it touches the soul. An open and searching mind pulls the soul and the body in which it inhabits onward and upward with hunger and determination in its quest for spiritual nourishment, ever mindful that the path upon which we walk is the path toward God. Lives lived, experiences endured, goals accomplished, and loved ones lost are all encounters upon that path. Strive always for the highest possible communication with our Heavenly Father. Believe in yourself as the Father within you is guiding, leading, directing, and comforting you upon this journey that we call life. Blessings be upon you as you walk your chosen pathway. And that was
Beautiful.
not me. That was not me. I take no credit for that.
Thank
But I
you.
did say out loud after it ended, I said, "Thank you, Spirit." And that was Wilma Jean's favorite expression when she would be given information,
Thank you.
told that something was going to happen or something worked out greatly in her favor. She would always acknowledge and say, "Thank you, Spirit." And
Mm.
these Spirit teachers, their joy is in our recognition of their existence.
Mhm.
They want to be recognized, they want to be
Mhm.
known, and they want to be helpful because that is what they have been assigned to. They've been assigned to us and help us along our way.
And they're always here available and ready to help us. We just have to ask for them and acknowledge them because they can't step in without our asking them. Of course, they do. Like they whisper, "Oh, lay off the brakes," or like, stop or don't go. That's your intuition. That's your intuition. That's them speaking to us. And once you learn to start recognizing that and listening to it and getting that confirmation that, ooh, I am protected when I listen to this little voice up here. It's not going to lead me astray. The more we're going to tune into it and the more we're going to be open to it. I would love to hear it. Was there ever a message that challenged you and didn't cover that not comforted you, but challenged you?
There was not. I've had messages to me that talked about why I'm here, what my mission is, what I'm supposed to do. I had one host that I did an interview with said, "Is there a particular message in volume one that you felt was appropriate for you or applicable or just really meaningful?" And I couldn't really think of anything, but I had the book next to me. Actually, I still have right here. This is the book, An Angel Told
Mm-hmm.
Me So. And a number 63 came into my mind. I don't have memorized messages in the book. I don't have page numbers memorized. But I turned to page 63 and it was a personal message for me. And it was an amazing message. I didn't even remember it. And it talked about why I'm here, what I'm supposed to do, and how these spirit teachers look forward to meeting me when that day comes to pass. So I thought that was interesting. But
Mm-hmm.
again, these messages just seem to apply to everyone who reads them, everyone that reads them.
Mm-hmm.
My grandmother would receive not only sermons dictated to her mind, but verses to songs. And in the photo gallery of the book, there are 6 verses to a song that my grandmother, Mary, received lying in a hospital in Columbus, Ohio. She had been taken by ambulance from Dayton to Columbus. She had diabetes. They didn't think she was going to make it. She was in a room by herself praying, and these words, these verses to songs started coming into her mind. There were 6 verses, and reading those 6 verses will almost bring you to tears.
Wow. So fascinating and beautiful that this story and your mom and you having such open communication with these beings that we all do. So thank you for sharing all those messages that came through. And if someone takes only one practice from the book into daily life, what would you suggest?
A practice?
Hmm.
I don't know. What do you mean by a practice? I'm
Like if
sorry.
there's something to practice, like as far as tuning into the spiritual realm, or if there's a certain message, if there's one overall thematic message or a practice of doing in order to connect more to these beings, what would you suggest to integrate into their daily life?
Well, I've had people who bought the book and even hosts who hold the book up on the air that already have it, and they'll have 8 or 9 individual messages bookmarked with these plastic tabs in different
Mhm.
colors that you can mark a page, or you can even fold down the corner. And these are all messages that they feel were extremely applicable to themselves and what they were dealing with. So for people to go into this with an open mind, read what kind of information can be shared from these spirit guides and spirit teachers, so that as you start to receive yourself, you're comfortable with the information, because you know what has already been received by someone who was so close to their own spirit guides and spirit teachers, that the information was so appropriate to what they were dealing with. There was no question that it was coming from the other side, from
Mm.
spirit guides, spirit teachers. And if you have a foundation of faith, just allow yourself to know, recognize that spirit guides, spirit teachers are angels. There's no conflict with the Bible, no conflict with religion. And allow yourself to be in a position to receive and be comforted with this information.
Mhm.
That's my best advice.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good advice. And it's so great that you were open to it, especially being brought up in such a religious background. And I know so many others, they're just holding on that this is bad, this is not, and they're not going to open up. And that, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. So once they're open to that, they're more apt to receive these messages. And I think more and more people are, because it's not just some like psychic on the wall on a little storefront in the middle of a busy intersection, neon flashing. So more people are being more open to this, and I think it can really help humanity. Your book, definitely, everyone's going to see messages for themselves after they read it, like seeing it for you, and then, like you said, reread it again. They're going to see themselves reflected in these messages as well, because, like you said, it's a universal theme for all, because we're all connected to each other.
And they'll be able to know and realize and have confidence that if it could be received by me
It
or
can.
received by Wilma Jean,
Mhm.
it could be received by them,
Mhm.
because they can see the quality, the depth and quality, the positive nature of this material. Now, I don't do a whole lot on Facebook, but I read a post recently, and it said, I don't want to just believe, I want to know.
Mhm.
And I believe that is the mindset that a lot of people are coming to. We have that foundation of faith. We know the story, but we have been told to believe, just have faith, for 2,000 years. 2,000 years. And we are now ready to not just believe, but know,
Mhm.
really know
And
what
embody it.
this is about, what is on the other side,
Mhm.
and we're ready. And the people that Jesus dealt with, they could not have comprehended a spiritual realm, another dimension, a vibration, a frequency where a complete society of spiritual teachers and angels, would exist adjacent to this physical plane. It was always up there or down there. You're going to go up into heaven or down into hell. And I believe that heaven and hell is the ultimate carrot and a stick, the
Yeah,
ultimate
be good
carrot.
or do this, follow us, or follow the rules, or this will happen. And the whole thing about, oh, you're born a sinner. Oh, come on, this precious little baby is born a sinner. Like, no, I never believed that.
I
Nope,
have
never
always
believed it.
I've always felt the same way. And then they'll say, well, any sin that you commit is a sin against God. Well, how is that possible? Any sin, anything that you would do,
What is sin? It's a choice.
lie, cheat, steal, adultery, all the big ones, the 10 big ones, those are all things that will cause damage to yourself, not to
Exactly.
anyone else.
Right.
And then you get into karma. You know what karma is.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Comes back.
well, the best way to explain karma to people who may not know is you have a bird bath filled with water. You drop a pebble in the center. The ripples go out to the edge. They always come back in on the center. Always. So whatever you do, anything negative that you do, you think you're getting away with it, but you're really just bringing this bad vibrations and bad future happenings to yourself, because the universe has an ability to balance itself, and you don't really ever get away with anything.
I agree. I agree. And I felt it come back to me really fast sometimes. And like I said, I don't believe in sin. I believe in choices. And I just don't. I mean, who dictated that this is a sin or not as a man? So I think a lot of that really tight religion is loosening its hold. Thankfully, people are having more free choice and, spiritual what did I read? Religion is learning from somebody else and spirituality is learning from yourself or learning your own or creating your own. Such a
I like that.
beautiful it always resonated, yeah,
I like
with
that.
me. Yes. Well, this has been such a wonderful conversation. I would love for the audience to hear how to find you and find your books. And I know you mentioned there's a volume 2 and a volume 3 coming up. So, if you would like to let the audience know where to find your work and what you have coming up and what you're excited about.
Certainly. On my website, something that I'll share with your audience, I have a contact page on my website, spiritspeaks.com. And if any of your listeners would contact me, I will share 3 messages from volume 2 of the book, which is not out yet, including the message where the 2 spirit teachers moved in the same session. And these are Microsoft Word documents, so they can open those. It's better to print them and hold them in your hand rather than trying to read them off your computer monitor. And I tell people, I said, when you're holding these messages in your hand, you're holding proof, real proof of the existence of a spiritual realm on the other side of this physical plane. So if anyone wants to contact me, I answer all contacts and I will share those messages. My book itself is available, and Angel Told Me So is available on the website, spiritspeaks.com. It's available through Barnes and Noble. Any Barnes and Noble store has it in their system. Ingram is my national distributor. So if you have an independent favorite bookstore that you like to deal with, they all deal with Ingram, and it's available on Amazon.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And I'll put that in the show notes. And I have one more question before we wrap this up. And I would love to hear from you. What does it mean for you to live with an awakened heart?
Well, it's extremely comforting, and you have a lot of confidence. Not that you think there isn't anything that you can't do or that nothing's going to hurt you, but you have the confidence you're constantly putting forward a vibration that, and it's interesting for me, people that you meet in public, people that you just interact with or cross paths with, it's like they light up. They don't know about you. It's like you come across as a different type of person. And I have a lot of people that look at me kind of funny, like, who are you? What are you? And it just gives you this feeling that you're on the right path, and what you're doing, what I'm doing, is really helping everyone that comes into contact with this information. We're shining a light on a path like a flashlight. And here's your next step. On my website, spiritspeaks.com, it says for all sincere seekers of truth. And then it says when the student is ready, a teacher will appear. And that has always been appropriate for me as a sincere seeker. You attract to you, you will draw to you information, a speaker, a book, a movie, an event that will take you that next step on your path. And there are so many people that have gone off on a tangent. They don't want to be over here. They want to be back over there, that was on their path, that was leading somewhere. And we're all a product of our choices and decisions. And this information will allow you to get back on your path.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, thank you, Michael. I really appreciate you sharing your story, your mom's story, and the story of these beings and these spirits that we have all around us. And it just gives me more motivation. I told you before, I've been in the cerebral very for a while now, but to just become more present and more in my body so I can connect to the spiritual realm, because I have had these experiences when I am more present in my body and the space around me, like synchronicities and beautiful things happen once I do. So I hope this is an inspiration for everybody to begin connecting with their guides and the spirits that are all around them. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Nancy, again. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Have a wonderful rest of your day down there in Ohio.
You too.
All right. Thanks. Bye bye.